Good morning, everybody. This is Troy from the Do-It-Yourself World Electronics. Sitting in my lab here, and I have previously avoided certain topics and keywords on my main channel, the Do-It-Yourself World and the Off-Grid Project, where we do daily homesteading videos. If you haven't seen that and you're interested in off-grid living, homesteading, and self-sufficiency, which we're striving towards, go ahead and check out the Do-It-Yourself World on YouTube and my websites. But now that I have the Do-It-Yourself World Electronics, which is a separate channel dedicated to electronics, I can now talk about things that were taboo on the other channel. Things like radiant energy, free energy, perpetual motion, things that make people mad, make people really furious, and they just go into rages and spewing and spitting and sputtering in anger. I've been planning this video for 3 days now, and I have notes, so it's something I never have done on my main channel. Well, I won't say never, but I rarely ever have notes prepared for any video. But in this case, it is something very important where I have to use references to back up what I'm saying. What I'm going to talk to you about today is a very touchy topic, but it's something important for people to understand. I was trained in electronics engineering in Michigan Tech a long time ago, and I also took various electronics courses through the years, both online and in college. Now, I'm not going to go into all that because it doesn't matter, especially when talking about these things. Many of the founders of the electrical and electricity and electronics field didn't have any background training because they were the founders. They were writing the laws that we use today, the laws of conservation of energy and all that, which are often used and often misquoted. Now, what I want to get into here is primarily, for example, my Bedini motor and how I'm restoring batteries, and how there is energy coming into the system from somewhere, which I don't have it here, but the main battery that runs the device is not providing all of the power that's coming on the output side of the system. The energy must be coming from somewhere. And no, we can't measure it with our normal little meters and gauges. That's the problem. So therefore people say it cannot exist and deny it. But the fact is that the Earth is being bombarded by waves of energy constantly. We know this is a fact. Cosmic rays, you may call it cosmic radiation, you may call it radiant energy, some call it the Dirac sea. That word always glitches in my head. Some call it energy from the vacuum. It doesn't matter what you call it. Some even call it static electricity, but that's not correct. There is energy, immense amount of energy bombarding everything in the universe at all times, radiating throughout the universe, bombarding the Earth and everything around us. I'm being bombarded by energy as we speak. We call it cosmic radiation. And you have to ask yourself, all this energy everywhere, it's around us at all times, is there not a way to touch it or tap it or use it or do something with it? And the founders of the field have said yes. Tesla, Moray, and many others have said yes, you can use that energy. Again, I've always avoided this topic on my main channel, but now I can speak openly. This is an electronics channel, and of course, heated discussion is going to be good for the ranking of the video, so please feel free to share your opinion. If this makes you furious and you start pulling out your hair saying it's impossible, please tell me your opinion. But I do have some things here that I've printed. Now I want to start out with something. People say, let's use the word perpetual motion. People have a fit when you use the word perpetual motion. Now, I never am going to use that much in my videos, and I'm not ever going to make a perpetual motion device. I have no interest in it. This is not a perpetual motion device, my Bedini motor. Not a perpetual motion device. Take off the power, it stops. You have to have power applied. But, just some food for thought. Everybody says there's no such thing as perpetual motion. Really? Well then, why is it that our founders said energy and matter cannot be created or destroyed? Well, if it can't be created or destroyed, it's always in existence, and it's always in motion. Isn't nature the ultimate perpetual motion device? Now, everything runs down eventually. Yes, even the earth, even the sun is going to run down eventually. But on our life, I'd certainly call that perpetual motion. The earth has magnetic waves that are continuously going, and going. I'd call that perpetual motion as long as the earth exists, as long as those fields exist. Yeah, and that energy, the particles of energy that are in motion, that cause all these things to occur, cannot be created or destroyed. They're always there. So that's perpetual motion. Now, put that aside. That's food for thought. I find it funny when people have absolute fits when you mention perpetual motion. I don't say it on my videos. I have no perpetual motion device in my lab, and I'll never say never, but I don't plan to. I don't believe that we can create perpetual motion devices with our own hands because we're just not that good. But I do also believe that there is perpetual motion in existence in nature. So the funny thing is when people scream perpetual motion and say, there is no such thing as perpetual motion when I'm talking about my Bedini device, I just laugh because it's like, really? It exists in nature, so anyway. It has nothing to do with what I'm doing here. It was just a side topic that people bring in from the outside in their comments and trying to prove this is not real. Well, you can't take one law to relate it to something else unrelated. You just can't. Take off the power, remove the battery, remove the power running the device, it's going to stop. I'll never say anything otherwise. You always got to have something to power it. Done. Now, energy. Is there such a thing as free energy? Okay? Well, let's go outside and have a look at something. Give you something to think about right here. Hold on a minute. See the grasses flowing gently in the wind? That energy, I don't have to put anything in to get energy out. I have wind turbines that are not up yet, otherwise I'd be showing them. But see the grasses flowing in the breeze? I can't see the wind. I can't really do much with that wind unless I have something to interface with that energy to convert it to usable energy. In and of itself, the wind, to me, is useless. I can't run a circuit with it. I can't power a motor with it. I can't drive my car on it. But if you convert that energy, this wind energy, to a usable form of electrical energy, I would call that free energy, because people use the argument that you can't get more out of a circuit than you put into it. Well, a wind turbine, I myself am not putting anything into it. So is that not, to me, free energy? Here is my solar panel array powering the off-grid woodshop and electronics lab. Now, again, people say you can't get more energy out of something than you put into it. Well, this is powering everything I have, and after the initial investment of the solar panels and the frames and the batteries, is this not, to me, free energy? Think about it. People can have a fit about the word free energy, but I'm not putting anything into this myself. I'm getting more energy out of these solar panels than I myself am putting in. The sun energy cannot be used in itself without converting it in some form, in some way, to a usable form of electrical energy. In and of itself, the sun keeps us warm, but you cannot power a car with it directly. You cannot run a motor or a circuit with it directly. You can't even turn on a light with it directly. But if you can convert the sun's energy to a form of usable energy, then I would call that free energy, because to me it's free. I am not putting any energy into the system, but I'm getting more out of the system than I put into it. So there you have a perfect example of converting a form of energy, the sun's energy, into a usable form of energy, which powers this light and spins this motor for me. So I am converting energy from the sun outside into a different form of energy that I can use. So the sun's radiation is being converted into usable energy for me. Now the interesting thing is, the batteries are where all this energy is being stored for later use. And that is really neat to consider, because that's the key of the Bedini motor that I use, is the batteries. Now, the Bedini motor sitting here is what some would call a radiant energy device, some call it a back EMF device, some call it a pulse motor, whatever you want to call it. The fact is that we are being bombarded by energy from space. Everybody knows that. It's a scientific fact. We know that we can convert solar power, we can convert this energy of the sun into electrical energy. We can convert the energy from the wind into electrical energy. Why can you not convert cosmic rays into usable electric energy? Which, by the way, reading, it gets into a long, complicated thing, but Thomas Henry More wrote an article, and I don't want to confuse, did I write down the name of the book? I did not write down the name of the book, but he wrote a book that explains how every particle everything's, try to get my head on straight about this. It's all about harmonics. Their nature is being held in check by harmonics. Now forgive me if I'm not wording this right. This is coming off my head. I don't have the notes on that because I'm just scratching the surface on that. I've read about it before. What's his name? The water-powered car. He was using harmonics to split water. Forgive me for forgetting his name suddenly. My wife called me a minute ago and now my head is, I'm off track. I was really on a roll and now I'm sidetracked. Anyway, the water-powered car, he was splitting water using harmonics. Harmonics is basically frequencies, and every single thing is buzzing, humming with a certain frequency. In Michigan Tech, for example, I remember in college, there was a group of guys that had a massive, super expensive subwoofer sitting pointed down at the floor. And I said, "What are you guys doing?" And they said, "We're trying to find the harmonic frequency of the building so that we can cause an earthquake and bring it down." I thought, wow, that would be disturbing, and I'm thankful I didn't succeed. But their failure, I later learned, was they were trying to use a single frequency to find the frequency of the building. And if they could disturb that, then they could bring the building down. I now realize and know that is very possible. Where they fortunately failed is they were not using multiple frequencies. I'm thankful that never did happen because they never thought about what happens if they bring the building down around them that they're sitting in. Anyway, so I knew back in college that was possible, that frequencies, sound could change things, could affect things. Anyway, Morey went very heavily into that, but the reason I bring up frequencies is because if you have a certain frequency or a set of frequencies, you can disrupt things in our environment. You can disrupt things in the world around us. For example, trying to bring down that building. And boy, I had everything in my mind. The guy who had the water-powered car, it's funny, my mind just glitched out all of a sudden, was using sets of frequencies to split water with very, very little energy input. Yes, it's possible. Everybody knows it. It's a fact of science. You start screaming that's not possible, then you haven't done your homework, because we all know that everything is affected by sound. Even plants are affected by sound. People are affected by sound. The point of this is that the energy radiating around us can be disrupted and disturbed by frequency, high speed pulses of voltage will disturb the energy in the environment around us. Now, that is key to harvesting the energy, because once you pulse a coil with a voltage super fast, and if you get the right frequency, it's going to disrupt the energy around us. That energy is going to flow around the wires, not through the wires, but around the wires, and can be directed to a battery to be charged. Therefore, because it's flowing around the wires, and our meters are meant to measure what's going through the wires, it's hard for us to measure that energy using our conventional meters, because they're just not designed to measure that energy. We don't have anything designed to measure that energy, and it probably never will exist because they don't want us to have it. So the Bedini machine is going to have, I believe, more power coming out of it than what you put into it, if you can disrupt the energy flowing around us, cosmic radiation if you want to call it, using the right harmonics. You can put it into and direct it into batteries where, as I said now, with solar power, if you can convert the sun's energy into a usable form of electrical energy, you can run lights and motors. If you convert the wind's energy into a usable form of electrical energy stored in batteries, you can run lights and motors and anything. If you convert the radiant energy into a usable form of energy in a battery, it's converted in the battery, then you can use it to run lights and motors and everything else. The battery is the key. The chemistry in the battery converts that chaotic energy into usable energy and stores it for you. It's just a fact. Using Einstein's formula indicates that there is enough energy in every 1 cubic centimeter of empty space to create all of the matter in the visible universe, which can be seen with our most powerful telescopes. That amount of energy is so great as to be beyond imagining. This energy field is referred to as a universal energy, cosmic energy, or zero-point energy. At this time, we do not have any instruments which respond directly to this energy, so it is almost impossible to measure. Makes sense, right? Cosmic radiation, we can't really measure it, but it's there. We know it's there. The existence of this energy field is now widely accepted by mainstream science. We know that. It's been accepted, and we know it exists. Tesla said over 60 years ago, Nikola Tesla, a lot of us know Nikola Tesla, he said over 60 years ago, and it's a quote, "Ere many generations pass, our machinery will be driven by power, obtainable at any point in the universe. Is this energy static or kinetic? If static, our hopes are in vain. If kinetic, and this we know it is for certain, then it is a mere question of time when men will succeed in attaching their machinery to the very wheelwork of nature." Camera died, had breakfast, and much has happened in between. So before I start babbling on a bunch of garbage, because I'm all distracted, let me close with one statement from Maury, who worked with electronics in the radiant energy field around the early 1900s. He said, "Enough energy is coming to the Earth to light over 1,693,600 100-watt lamps for every human being on the earth today. He goes on to state how eventually we could power everything with unlimited energy. And he had devices which were self-contained with no external power, which were lighting up multiple lights and heating elements and other devices. And it's funny how people will absolutely scream at you and say that it's not possible, but yet science shows this energy exists. Physics proves it. It's around us. It's radiating all around us. And why not, if you can convert one form of energy to another usable, a form of chaotic energy to a form of usable energy, such as solar and wind, then why not the cosmic energy, the radiant energy, or whatever else you want to call it. And again, no matter what you say, it's funny how much I show meters. I can show meters on here. I can show there's 100 milliamps being used at 12 volts, which is like a watt, being used to power this motor. And don't forget, there's a motor spinning. There's work being done by the motor, okay? And people forget that part. And at the same time, I'm charging two 216 amp hour golf cart batteries and putting charge into them. You can see it on the voltmeters that they are taking charge. There is energy going into them. Only 50 milliamps are showing on the amp meter, but again, it's not conventional energy we're using. This is not, as some people say, a one-to-one transformer. This is doing something else. Because if you take the energy going into the batteries, all the different sets of batteries I have here, plus the power of the wheel spinning, plus losses in the coils, losses for friction, and other losses in the system, I do believe that there's more energy on the output side than what I'm using here. And it does not defy any laws of physics or electronics or anything. It doesn't defy any laws. I'm just simply using energy that exists. And it's already there around us. I'm going to continue with experiments with earth batteries coming up here soon. Experiments with Tesla's aerial power supply, which he took a big metal sheet, insulated, and ran an insulated wire from it and used a series of diodes, which I had here somewhere. Oh, here. Sorry, I'm still sitting at my lab. A series of germanium diodes and capacitors connected to an aerial plate, and that with a wire going to the ground, and hook this up in the middle, and you've got power coming out. You can power devices. He showed. Now, I haven't yet succeeded in doing this. I've never really put any energy into it. My own work, I should say. But I've got the diodes here. I ordered them, and they came in the mail. And I will be experimenting with this. There's also, ham radio operators know very well that if you set up an antenna wire, and if you don't ground that thing out, energy will build up in that wire and will blow out your radio. So these are all proven facts, scientific facts that are proven. We know there's energy buildup in the wires. We know that there's energy in the air around us. We know that the earth is being bombarded by an mind-blowing amount of energy. So the fact is, why can't we use it? I don't think there's any reason we can't. Experiments in the early 1900s, really, there was a lot of work done, and it's odd that it's not conventionally accepted today. But I think it's very simple. If there's not a way to charge money for it, then it's not going to become mainstream. I think that's the basic answer to everything. Now, as long as I'm playing around with my little lab here and tinkering around with small scale experiments. I don't think anybody's going to bother me about it, but it'll be interesting to see the comments on this video of people cursing and ranting and raving and swearing how it's not possible. But these very same people can read the scientific evidence that supports it. So, Troy from the Do-It-Yourself World Electronics. Hope that you guys follow along. Got some exciting experiments coming up, and been studying for years on this topic, and now that I have a real lab, although a bit chaotic still, we're going to start moving ahead. So, hope you stay with me, and please do subscribe, like, and share. Talk to you later.